speed. Yeah. Basically, and that's the reason why they're like either bunker down or get out if you can. The other problem with getting out is that even tourists that were in the area, or even people that were escaping, the other islands in that area from the previous hurricane, were basically trapped in Puerto Rico and they could not leave the island.
Yeah. Right, there were tourists that were stuck in hostels, and CNN spoke to a couple of them, and they said, luckily the people running the hostel are taking good care of us, and we feel safe. And there were others who said, the building that we're in feels stable, but what we're really concerned about is the flooding.
Yeah, they said if you're in a floodplain, you will in a flood-prone area, you will die. They said if you're in a wooden house, you will die. It's terrifying, and I admit that may be hyperbole to motivate people to actually move to. Delta Flight 431 was the last flight to fly into Puerto Rico to load up passengers to get folks out of Puerto Rico. And there was this aviation blogger who was just kind of paying attention and looked at the aviation map of where all the planes were, and everyone was headed away. And he noticed like one is totally just going to Puerto Rico after everyone in their right mind has turned away. And people started following it, and it started to trend a little bit as everyone was like, "Ugh, I see it. There's kind of a band that they might be able to make their way through." And so they go in and they land. I'm getting chills right now talking about it. They land between the two bands and they get in. And from the flight attendants on board, it takes a while to get. And this was like a full-on 737 or equivalent. This is a 3x3 passenger, mid-sized jet. And they got everybody off and on in a time that no one would ever think possible. They shifted the departure to early.
Yes.
Which like most people would be like, are you kidding me? They's like, we are leaving early or we're not leaving.
Yes.
And they landed, you can track the whole thing online. They got up and you can watch it try to take off into the wind because you have to go into the wind. And you're looking at it like that's not fast enough for a plane to take off, but there's so much headwind that it creates the correct pressure for that plane to take off.
Look at you getting all scientific.
Christ. I got goosebumps.
It's nuts. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you see. And this was, some aviation professionals that took their life into their own hands and then also placed their lives and the lives of others in the hands of other aviation professionals to execute that. And if you look at it, it was a ridiculous turnaround. But in terms of where this is going, for people who are wondering what's happening next, it's moving on. By Thursday, it should be in Turks and Caicos, southeastern Bahamas. And if you're wondering, it's too early as yet to determine whether it will actually make landfall in the United States. It looks like most models are saying that it stays out. It gains a little more steam once it moves on from where it is right now, and then it starts dissipating as it moves up along the Atlantic coast.
All right, we will keep you updated on that and more. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, the Cornell story that I was telling you about, and we will read your tweets. Use the hashtag TYT Live to communicate with us. We'll see you in just a minute. Hey everyone, welcome back to TYT. A few TYT Lives for you. Lots of commentary about Hassan. So
really,
let's share some of that.
Oh boy.
Your mama says, I think I lost the bet. I had the over 5 number of rings Haas would be wearing.
How many we got? 4, 5, 4.
How do you have the time to put jewelry on? Like that's
that's a ridiculous question.
No, it's not a ridiculous question. Jewelry takes time and energy, and it takes thought. Like you have to think about it.
Not really. Not if you have the same exact jewelry that you wear all the time, and then you switch it by just like taking some off. If you have all of your fingers.
Thought, Hassan.
Brett is not wearing his wedding ring.
Yeah, no, I don't know where it is, but it's in the house somewhere. It's in the house somewhere. I'm new to wearing wedding rings.
How do you not know where it is?
I'll tell you what, I don't know.
You just got married.
The question for Hassan is not how can you find time to put rings on, because multiply 1 second by how many rings he's got on. But
they like that.
The question is how can you wear rings and not just be like this all the time?
No, it's not weird to me at all.
I hate it. I can't. I love her. So we got married, but the symbol of our love,
yeah.
The one she got me, it's like from a gift shop. It's tungsten. It's heavy. So like I was always like this.
It's not comfort fit.
So like my finger, yeah.
You got to get a comfort fit wedding ring.
I don't know anything about rings, even though I'm wearing the most rings currently.
Well,
okay.
What's a comfort
we gotta go.
fit?
We gotta go. Heiserberg says every time Hassan is on the main show, Ja'Cory and Arthur should be standing behind him, berating him.
That's funny.
That's a reference to a fun Ja'Cory and Arthur episode.
New one out.
Yeah.
New episode called The Audition.
Yes.
My
The
favorite
Audition.
show on TYT. Check it out.
Well,
I'm in this one. Everyone's in this one.
I'm not in it, but I'm personally offended that that's your favorite show.
Why wouldn't it be?
It should be the breakdown.
Okay, first of all, you should say the name of that show at the beginning, because at the end, like I've already clicked off. I was like, oh, this is the breakdown. Now it is.
It's all good. It doesn't matter.
But I don't know. It's too newsy. We do news all day. Ja'Cory and Arthur is a welcomed respite from the horrors of daily life.
True.
Yeah, that's very true. All right, moving on to some of the horrors in society today. A man in Baton Rouge has been arrested for allegedly murdering 2 black men and attempting to murder another black man who lives near his home. Kenneth James Gleason is his name, and luckily he is in custody. And he had been arrested and let go and then rearrested for other crimes right before he got arrested for these alleged murders. And it was because of alleged drug possession, and then he tried to steal a book. This story is crazy, and I'm happy that he's in custody, especially when you consider what his motivations possibly were. Kenneth James Gleason is thought to have fired at 2 men killed last week while inside his car before getting out, standing over them and firing additional shots. It appears to be cold, calculated, planned against people who were unarmed and defenseless. That's according to the East Baton Rouge district attorney. On Monday, September 11th, Moore is the district attorney here, Gleason fired 3 shots from a 9mm gun at an occupied home not far from his own. Luckily, no one was hurt in that case. However, following that incident, he did kill 2 people. Allegedly kill people. The first known fatal shooting occurred Tuesday, September 12th, when Bruce Cofield was killed. Cofield, a homeless man known to people in the community, was fatally shot late that night. And then 2 days later, police say Donald Smart was found with fatal gunshot wounds. Smart was a popular employee at Louis Cafe, a diner near the Louisiana State University campus. Moore said they were able to link Gleason to the shootings early Tuesday when DNA found on the shell casings matched his own. Authorities also spoke to multiple witnesses who identified the same red car that Gleason owns and drives at the scene of these crimes. And so he hasn't been convicted, but he has been charged, and so we'll see how it plays out. But through this investigation, authorities are trying to, of course, find the motive and figure out whether or not this was racially motivated. And so far, they indicate that they believe that's the case, but they need to prove it, obviously. So they're working on that investigation right now.
What kind of book was he stealing?
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, literally my favorite book.
You just made that up?
No,
right?
Seriously, it was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, okay.
What was the rest of that question?
No, the reason why I said is because potentially that could tell you what his idea was. Also, book theft is a very strange thing to be locked up for, but
arrested for.
Still stealing. It's not.
Yeah, no,
I don't know. What do we do with this story? This story is a murder story. We hope we don't sit around and wait for the final result, but we keep monitoring it, and if things seem to be getting left behind, we pick up on it. But I look at this as like, this is a terrible, terrible story.
Right.
About someone who keeps getting.
Here's what we do with this story.
Yeah.
This is what we do with the story, okay? We stop allowing the GOP to intimidate us. And when I say us, I mean so-called progressive lawmakers. We stop allowing them to intimidate us from draining resources in the Department of Homeland Security that are dedicated to investigating and countering right-wing non-Muslim terrorism in the country, because that type of terrorism exists, right? So look, in this case, he attempted to kill a black man, and then he